night and day, right and left, impossibility and inevitability. If a singular constant rang ever true concerning opposites, it was that sooner or later they must meet. Jed and Arl met in a Rad Rock Burger. The restaurant was nothing special. A franchise diner joint stuffed into the ruined undercarriage of an Aldate warship plowed straight into one edge of the Jalnasi bone shell slum. A near-floor sign hung from the warship's blown-open hangar bay, advertising a cheeseburger and the Rad Rock Burger name in blue and yellow and white light. The eatery was built into the hangar itself, taking up one half of the rusty metal cavern. The other half held a Skytruck repair shop, and between them lay a burst-open doorway that led into what once were the warship's corridors, but now were thoroughfares to ship cabin apartments and storage units. Golden floodlights hung between the diner and shop and illuminated their sort of alley, powered by daisy-chained extension cords to Ramir only knew what power source. Weeds thicketed the hangar bay's ruptured deck plates, overflowing with sand and mud. The occasional barrel smoldered with burning trash. Green teams sat within Rad Rock, piled into a bright red corner booth and dining on only the finest in fast food fish. There were burgers. There were chicken tenders and fried gouhier sandwiches. There were cheese curds and root beers and pops and fries. What there wasn't was conversation. And this was because of the story every ear in the booth inclined towards. Harry Dell had a pocket player out. The galactic radio was telling its usual wild yarns.
And an incomplete device. This is Broad Stellar Galactic Radio.
Hear now the words of Dom and Kate.
I've gotta say, Dom, this one's out there even for you. Half of Paradise is ruled by giant space jellyfish?
That's right, Kate. Jellyfish are mostly responsible for the balance of power in an entire quarter of the Nevera galaxy.
Now this I've got to hear. What's the story?
Well now, these are no ordinary jellyfish.
Obviously, concluded Darnak. They're in space.
Tell me, have you ever heard of the Neros?
Only rumors. Why don't you fill our listeners in?
Thought you'd never ask.
He was practically grinning through the cosmic airwaves.
Nobody knows where the Neros come from. They've never said, and we've never gotten it out of them. Some think it's the cursed world of Vangarin, but everything spooky gets blamed on Vangarin.
Naturally.
Others say they're from the great beyond, past the galactic rim. A more likely theory, and the one I hold to.
Get to the point.
So the Neros are big. Smallest ones could swallow an average person whole. Biggest ones? Entire starships. They're big, they're teal, they're super translucent, so you can see everything inside them. But do you know what else they are?
Do tell, Dom.
They're telepathic.
Jed's head shot up at this, but before he could speak, Dom continued.
That's right. Neros have telepathic abilities. They're so strong they can sway mass groups of people with their mind control. They brainwash. They manipulate. Say, we don't even know if they can die. We're talking fraction levels of shivers.
But how did they come to rule Paradise? How did we learn of it?
We learned through the studies of a Dr. Canabad from Telestria. See, Canabad was a doctor, but not in medicine, in criminal justice. He'd been studying the patterns of various Paradise syndicates who arose after the war. He tracked them very closely, and he noticed some eerie similarities in them.
The wars. Right, when everyone fought each other. Yeah. Chelsea much to fry. Everything was kinda messy afterward. A lot of chaos once the dust settled. Me and power vacuums. A Harry bumped her in the arm. If you let the radio man tell it, you can use your mouth for eating instead of talking. Reinhardt kicked Dell's boot under the table. But shut up. Back to the program.
Dr. Kinabad noticed lots of syndicates were working together, like hand in hand. It was giving Yedlin Crescentum fits, trying to uproot one group when 3 others would whisk in and bail them out. They all seemed to grow in strength as one. So Kinabad pulled a hero move. He went undercover for a prompt to try and learn the truth.
Varen sipped his water. The major crime lords of Paradise are very well established. They often work together for a greater purpose, or to stop a bigger threat. Teal-eyed moron once. Like to interrupt things all.
The group he chose was a name we all know nowadays. Naltaj. Kinabad worked for 15 years on the Naltaj, helping his syndicate grow and seeking higher status, working his way toward the inner circle. He became, ironically, quite the accomplished criminal in his time. Oopsie. You can say that again. Oopsie. There were times the Prox almost swooped in and jailed Kinabad for what he'd done. But it all was too important. They had to learn the truth behind these crime lords, behind this nefarious network of hell, I'm out of it words. No goodery.
The nefarious network of no goodery. I like it.
Well, just got his way to the inner circle finally. He was quite the hardened crook by then. Or so his scoundrelly comrades thought. The doctor got himself an audience with Naltaj himself and went to meet him at the Phaedrian Crown. That's the big space station where his syndicate headquarters.
Horace scowled. Wait. His name is Joss.
What happened next, Tom?
So there he was. Dr. Kinabad at the Phaedrian Crown, waiting in a room for Naltaj. He sits there. He sits there some more. And finally, the door opens. But no one comes in.
Green Team stared at the radio. Their food sat, neglected.
The door leads to a balcony platform with a yawning chasm of mesmerizing light. Kind of Ad goes in, and he steps out on the balcony. And then it clicks. It's not just light. It's a glowing, floating, cyan space jelly the size of a star yacht.
Oh, God!
The door closes behind him. Now Taj drifts toward him, gentle, hypnotic. In a cool, smooth voice that laps through his mind like the waves of a celestial sea, he bids Kindbad good evening and thanks him for his visit. He tells him that he is a Neiros, that there are countless others just like him all across the galaxy. Some docile, and others proactive.
Do they all control? Well, folk like us?
No. Some keep to themselves, living in swarms and traveling the starways. Others, like Naltaj, involve themselves in galactic affairs. Of the dozens of syndicates running Paradise, he names at least 20 major players that are ruled by Neiros. Their goals, he explains, are simple: to keep any empire from reasserting itself, and to maintain their herds.
Green Team traded looks. Jet pale. Herds?
Like people herds?
You guessed it. Kindbad's next question was precisely that. I don't think Jellyfish smiled, but you could almost see it on his amorphous face. He floated closer, right up to him, and he uttered a single phrase. What do you think the Neiros eat?
Kate gasped, and gasped again at Don's next statement.
Here it came, Kate, an overwhelming telepathic summons to his over-swamped mind. Dr. Kindbad spilled the beans, blew his whole mission open, betrayed 38 crook spies to Naltaj. Then he threw off everything on his person and, with a delighted smile, he crawled headfirst into Naltaj's mouth. Kindbad spent 165 years inside that dome, digested alive. A grisly example to anyone else who ever dared to feat with Naltaj.
Now Green Team gasped. Wait, protested Darmac. He was alive? A brainwashed dinner. Jet glanced at his burger and shuddered. He didn't even fight back. He couldn't.
How did he live that long?
Naltaj sustained him, I guess. Nutrients of some kind? No one really knows Neiros biology. But his fate was confirmed by plenty of folks over the decades. Other meals came and went, most shorter, but Kindbad, he lingered.
And why alive?
Maybe we taste better without the rot.
Don slurped his coffee.
Now, we learned all this 3 days after that ill-fated meeting. Log disc shows up on the Presindum's doorstep on Telestria. See, Altar's found a recording device, some kind of ad's person, in his effects. He knew he'd recorded it all. So he gave the whole shebang back to the procs, along with a short note that read simply, "A generous blackguard provides dinner to his guests before attempting to feed them. I thank you for your hospitality and offer mine."
Cade oohed through the static.
Why do you think he told them? Why not keep the secret?
The implication, I think, was this. The Neros were too big to fail. There was no stopping them, and no reason to try.
What a coincidence.
What the f-
Green team meet. Four figures stood at the booth, weapons leveled square at them. Marculon, Shep, Juvo Marn,